Hello, everyone. I'm Sandy Triebenbach from It's All About Your Wellness, and we are interviewing today Donna Naumann, who runs a business as well. And what is the name of your business, Donna?
I just use my name,
You just use,
DonnaNaumann.com. That's where you find
okay, DonnaNaumann.com. So, can you tell us a little bit about you, Donna?
Well, let's see. I've been a nurse for 36 years and became a nurse practitioner in 2001. Owned my own practice for about 7 years, and then started on this journey of functional medicine. About the same time, I bought the modern Western medical practice. And as I was working there, I was discovering that there were a lot of different ways to help people heal. And as a business owner, I was super interested in that because if I could help people heal, it would bring more business to the practice. And so I started journeying into functional medicine, which is root cause, like rooting for what exactly is causing people to get sick. Because in medicine, we're giving people medication for diabetes, we're giving medication for depression, we're giving people medications. And I didn't really see any of that work. It didn't make anything go away. It didn't make it made the diabetics better, but it didn't like cure the diabetes. And so in this journey, I found that there's several things. There's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, sexual, sleep, food, or how we were brought up as a baby, where we bottle fed, where we breastfed, how's our immune system. And all of those things play a part in each disease. So sometimes people coming in for depression may actually have gut issues because our gut houses our serotonin. And if our gut isn't working, we're not absorbing our serotonin. So I went on this big ride of all these different modalities, and that's kind of how I ended up here.
Cool.
I
That
know.
sounds like quite a journey you've had already.
I know.
Wow.
It is.
Wow. So then the difference between functional medicine and the doctor's office.
Well, the doctor's office is patients coming in with insurance that are coming in for maybe they're having a problem. Typically, they're coming in, their tummy hurts or their head hurts or they're urinating all the time or some other things are going on. And then when they get there, the questions start and we try to figure out like, is it a migraine? Is it irritable bowel? And what medicine we're going to put them on. And then maybe sometimes talk about diet and try to get people to clean up their diet a little bit. Functional medicine they make a timeline of illness. A lot of the functional medicine providers don't take insurance because like when I see you as a functional medicine patient, it'll take me an hour and a half to do your initial paperwork because there's so many integral parts of what makes us have a symptom, and trying to figure out the whole picture takes time. In Western medicine, you don't get that kind of time. The appointments vary anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes. And even when we'd see new patients in 30 minutes, we were pretty much having to wrap it up and move on to the next. And when in Western medicine, when I'm looking at a patient, I'm going through past medical history, social history, family history, and what your symptoms are. In functional medicine, we're going through sleep, diet log, family history, exercise, movement, spirituality, sexuality. We're looking at toxins. We're looking at things that you might have been exposed to, any kind of viruses you might have had. So some of the hidden viruses are things like Lyme disease that I know you work with, and things like mono, like people who get mono can get chronic illnesses down the line that keep coming into the practice for those things and they might come in for depression and it could be mono, but we haven't done a history and then put those things together. So functional medicine is really kind of bringing it all together. The other thing that I do differently than I did in my Western practice was I do different labs. I do stuff like Dutch testing. Dutch testing is a hormone panel that looks at all of our hormones and it looks at our cortisol levels. So it looks to see if our cortisol is following the correct cortisol pattern. When that cortisol level starts to flatten out, you can tell that people are really in a state of overloaded stress. And then we have vitamins and things that can help correct that. So sometimes when people are coming in with depression, there really is more of a stress-related accident that's been happening in their life, and the inflammatory markers are all going crazy. And then the Dutch test picks that up. So that's one thing that I do different. And then I like the Nutri-Eval, and I like a full allergy panel and a GI test. So those 3 tests are really based on what kind of symptoms you're having. If you have a lot of stuff going on with your stomach, like you have Crohn's disease or irritable bowel, sometimes it's good to do a GI profile. And basically it takes stool and it looks at the stool particles, and it looks to see if everything in the stool is as it should be. You'd be amazed about how many things are in our stool. Like the first time I did my stool analysis, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things in there. But
Like
yeah.
what? Like what? Name some things that you've seen in stool.
Parasites, amino acids, bacterias, tons. They're just like the paperwork just goes on and on and on. It looks at yeast. So it's a really good test, because once you kind of figure that out, you can tell like what the gut biome looks like. And if the gut biome is compromised, you know that the disease may have started in the gut, and then you want to heal that gut first. I really focus a lot on depression, anxiety, and weight loss. We have tons of people that come into practice. We put them on diets, they lose a little bit of weight, then they always gain it back. Well, the reason that is so is because we haven't identified what the root problem is. And so if we're putting you on antidepressants for depression, but we haven't looked at the gut or your diet and see that you're eating a lot of sugar, or that your gluten allergy is causing a problem in your gut, then we haven't done anything. If we're looking at somebody who's having weight loss issues, but we don't ever do a full thyroid panel to see if they are developing Hashimoto's and catch it earlier and try to correct it before it goes into full thyroid issue, then we're missing it. We're putting you on medication for weight, but we're not really addressing what the issue is. And so like when you look at that cascade, and I think do you mind if I go on a little bit more on that?
Oh, please do.
Okay.
Please do.
So weight's really cool, because weight is not just a fat cell, and this, it's energy too. But it can be hormonal. It can be our cortisol levels, which is stress. It can be from eating too much sugar. It can be on gluten, that gluten has damaged the gut biome. It can be our thyroid, and a lot of Hashimoto patients have gluten sensitivity and allergies. It can be food allergies. It can be sleep issues. So as you can see, like the numbers just keep going up. Mm-hmm. And I know you do a lot of energy work, and I've also started incorporating energy work into my practice. But initially, I'm really trying to figure out what that root cause is. And then with each visit, we're adding on some stuff like muscle testing, the healing code. I also am a hypnotherapist, so I give people anchors and do small hypnosis sessions to help them kind of get the mind right. Because as you know,
okay.
Yeah, as you know, like the mind, we think create the life we live. And if we have the same thoughts every day, which we do 95% of the time, then it's really difficult for us to change any kind of behavior, eating behavior, thought behavior for depression and anxiety. And so kind of it's pretty all encompassing. It's a lot, isn't it?
It is. We're very complex, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the anchors, okay, that anchor, I had seen one of your live videos where you were with one of your clients and you were talking about the anchors, and I didn't get the whole story. Now I understand what that's all about.
Yeah. So when
you saw the light bulb go.
Yeah. So when we're in hypnosis, we go through brain waves. We have a beta, which is what you and I are in now. Then we have alpha, then theta, and then delta. That alpha theta is that space where hypnosis really works well. When we go into alpha and theta, we become more like unconscious, and we're not consciously battering everything all around. When we're in that unconscious space, we're able to implement different kind of anchors. And one anchor is bringing your fingers together like this and closing your eyes and picturing yourself in this beautiful, amazing place where you're happy and everything is perfect. And you're doing that during hypnosis. Then when hypnosis is over, we want to continue to practice that anchor so that anytime that you feel like you need to be, in a beautiful, calm state, you can put your fingers together and reinsert your anchor. Your brain has the ability to remember that anchor is what brings you peacefulness. And yesterday I was talking to some lady and she was talking about the mudra, like when you're meditating and you have your fingers together like that. Well, that's the whole thing too. While people are doing their meditation and they have their fingers together, they're unconsciously not realizing that that's the thing that's making them also anchoring, feeling relaxed like you do in meditation. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds
So
awesome.
like in the practice for weight loss, I used to use a lot of medications, phentermine and Belviq and all kinds of stuff. And they work. But if you don't work on this part, getting stuff to stick is very, very difficult. So then I start doing, like, there's a healing code, and you know that one where you you go through all your energy centers and you try to reconnect the energy centers as well. And talking about emotions, I use an ailment of emotions book that helps me figure out what is the emotion that is combined with what the patient is coming in for. So really trying to incorporate that whole plan. It takes more than one visit. A lot of people just want to come do their one visit, get their labs done. But each time you come, I'm doing one more thing with you to help you through that healing process. And it's a journey. I mean, it's a journey. You don't get better the first appointment where you're just going over paperwork and learning about your illness. Yeah. I wish it was that simple. Yeah.
It would be.
Yeah.
We simply got here, right?
Yeah. Have you ever been
simply got to where we are?
Yeah. You've been to an integrative provider before?
I was at a naturopath. She was a naturopath. She also did acupuncture, which was helpful in some respects where I was experiencing a lot of grief over my daughter. My daughter passed away, and
oh my.
In that space, I felt like I was in a single engine airplane full time trying not to crash and burn, if you can imagine that. Okay, so the first visit I have with my naturopath who's doing the acupuncture, we're doing the grief stuff, and I was on the way home. I felt like I'd forgotten something, totally had forgotten something. And it wasn't until I drove in my driveway and got to known spaces that I realized my plane landed and I was in a more peaceful, restful state. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
yeah. Go ahead.
It sounds like a good job. I mean, I think
it was.
And I think, like if you would have came to me at Chambers, which is where the office I used to own, we would talk a lot about what was going on and how you got there. We'd be talking about counseling and we would be talking about medication. But that's my old way. My new way is very similar to what your naturopathic is doing, because you can also do tapping exercises that can act upon your acupuncture points that people can learn to do at home. It's not as good as going to an acupuncturist. I've been to an acupuncturist. I've pretty much tried everything that there is to help with healing. I don't really often share my own story. By the time I was 20, I had been at gunpoint twice. And
wow.
And basically, like back in that day, you didn't do counseling. Nobody really, you just went to school the next morning and, whatever. I had a gun to my head. I was freaked out. So I had that. I had a breast mass that I had to be hospitalized for. And I was like 15 or 16. I thought, oh my God, I have cancer. I'm going to die. And I was in the hospital and I was crying and my stomach was hurting and nobody was coming and nobody cared. And so like by the time I was 20, I had a lot of, things happen. I had a new stepdad. I don't know. The story is just, I watched a friend get electrocuted at the park. He was climbing up to the park lights, and it was kind of raining outside, and he got zapped. And then he passed away and we were all just standing there. So
I'm
by the
so
time
sorry, Donna.
I know, by the time I was 20, I had lived through a lot of stressful events. And I really was okay because then after that, I went to nursing school and then I had kids and I was busy with them and I was their coaches and I was working. And then all of a sudden everybody's gone. And I'm like, I have this anxiety because work is so stressful and I can't remember why. And then when I look back at my life and I realize I never really coped with all of those things. And so then the journey began for me to heal, like for me to find some peace, for me to learn the healing code, for me to go to, acupuncture and go to therapy and do all those things, because on the outside I look great. But on the inside, it's true for all of us. We have pains. We have things that have happened in our lives that's the saddest thing in the world. And somehow though, you got to figure out how you go on. And I would suspect that you would say that your healing work is part of your healing process. Was that true?
Every day. But with everything, and then what you've been through too, there are lessons that are learned. There's a reason, a reason why we have experienced those things. And I feel, for me anyway, it's so that I can help others that are in that situation.
Yeah.
I know how they feel.
Yeah.
And especially with parents, with parents that have lost grown children.
Yeah.
I know where they're at, because I've been there. And I've also been able to cope better, than I used to. I'm better than what I used to be, but there's hope. There is hope. And that's what people see in you too, because when you make your story known, just like you just did, people can look at you, they'll see, look where you are, and you're a hope. You're a
We
piece
are
of hope that they're looking for,
Yeah.
and
When
I
I first
commend you on that.
Yeah, when I first started on this journey, I used to call it hope, helping other people everywhere. And I thought the reason that I was on my journey was that I was going to be helping people, because I was like going on this journey. But then one day I realized that I was the journey. I was the one that I was trying to help so that I could help other people. So often, people come in for one thing, but it's really quite another. And I would say that really speaks to what I do with people that have emotional issues too. I mean, I can understand that emotional issue because of the things that I've been through. I'm able to really connect with that and understand that and be present, and which is, I think, is not going on a lot at the doctor's offices anymore.
Right.
I mean, you know, it's 10-minute visits, 15-minute visits, and that's just not, like, I can't get to know you. I can't help you. I can't help you be better without really knowing who you are and what's happened to you in your life. So this has been a beautiful journey, and I'm so thankful that I've been on it. So
I'm thankful you are too, because look at where you are now. Look at what you get to do. And people that need to see you are coming. We're attracting those people, and it's not by, it is all by design, and that's the coolest part.
yeah, I think if I could say one thing to that, I think something that you mentioned that is so important is that everything that happens to us is a lesson. And when we can revert the lesson into something positive, one of my first memories as a little girl was my dad leaving, and he took my stepsister and my two stepbrothers, and I did not go with him because I had my mom. They were divorced, and so had he taken me, he would have been taking me away from my mother. My sister and two brothers had a different mom, and so, like, they, anyway, long story. I always remember being in a car wondering when he's going to come get me and bring me with them, like, and I'm crying, I'm crying hysterically. My grandmother had to send me home because I was a hot mess. But my memory really is thinking, like, when's he going to come get me? And that was kind of like, for many years, kind of a little bit of bitterness. And then when I got in my 20s, I realized that that's the best gift I ever had. Like, I could grow up with my mom. My mom is stable. She's a good mom. Like she's, took care of us. And what my dad did, I took from that is I want to find a strong, loving relationship. And that's kind of how it happened. And then I became very committed to that. And I'm pretty sure that what happened with my father is really what made I've been married 30 years, and I think that's what made that so awesome because I learned the lesson from it. I didn't stay in that place where I got left and I didn't stay there. I had to move past that and see what good did that bring me. So I think that's really what healing is about. Do I love functional medicine? Oh yeah. Do I love doing labs? Oh yeah. But then there's that other place, the emotional part that we can't ever really escape from, that we have to look at as providers. And
Yeah.
so, telling people there is hope. It's like looking at things like you said, finding the silver lining and
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all about releasing the emotion, but keeping the gift.
yeah, yeah. Because we're all here to help each other.
Yeah, we are. We
Yeah.
are. Yeah. So, did you address stress? You wanted to talk about stress, I think, too. Did you include that in your, did you cover
I
stress?
yeah, I think as far as stress goes, it's really telling my story of
Good.
how I was so stressed. For patients that come in, so just a couple different little things that I really like. I do the Dutch testing will really help you figure out whether the stress is an emotional, a cortisol problem. I also do something that it's a brain assessment form, and it tells you whether the stress is coming from the gut, whether the stress is coming from the brain, whether it's a GABA problem, a dopamine problem, a serotonin problem, a diet problem, a sugar problem. And so like I have these questionnaire things that really help me decide like what's going on. So I saw a patient and she's just like a nervous little Nelly all the time. And as soon as I met her, I just knew that it was a GABA problem. Like GABA is one of our neurotransmitters in our brain. And I really look into the work of Dr. Karazian. He has a book, it's called Why is My Brain on Fire or something like that. Anyway, so after I saw her and I'm thinking, oh, it's GABA. I just know it's GABA. Like she's just a GABA girl, I get home and I look in my book and sure enough, like she fit the profile 100%.
Wow.
So getting her on some supplements to kind of help support the GABA. She's already on 2 different antidepressants, something for anxiety and like a load of different things. And I guess speaking to that is like sometimes the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are your Prozacs, your Paxils, your Zoloft, they only really modulate the serotonin. And there's really a lot more stuff going on in that brain besides the serotonin. And so really looking at patients, like that's what we need. We need a better understanding of which thing is imbalanced so that we can help people feel more balanced and begin to work our way off of some of the medications and feel better, like feel great,
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's my little spiel for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how do people find you?
My name is Donna Naumann and my website is Donna Naumann. And I have a Facebook group page called Journey of You. And I would love to have you. And you can watch all these great videos and just have fun in there. I'm seeing patients in Kirkwood, and then I do online training as well. So that's
Okay.
what it is.
Kirkwood. What state is Kirkwood in?
Missouri. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're just south of Minnesota.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not in Minnesota.
Cool. Well, it was awfully nice talking to you.
You too,
Anything
Sandy?
else you want to include?
Nope. I think we're good.
Okay.
I think
It was
just
awfully
ending
nice.
with don't lose hope. Like,
Don't lose hope. Exactly. And I think the name that you had, the hope is fitting, very fitting. I think you should think about that.
yeah, thank you.
Include it.
It was
Yeah.
wonderful being with you today.
Thanks, Donna. You take care and bye to everybody else. And again, this is Sandy Triebenbach. It's all about your wellness. Signing off for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.